All right. So you are all welcome to this webinar, this session that we are going to have in a brief moment this morning. And this our focus this morning is on the aspect of strategic leadership, which is strategic marketing. And we are going to talk about positioning your brand. But then before we talk of positioning your brand, we want to look at the other factors that are associated with positioning your brand, and that is preparing your brand. Because before you position your brand, you need to prepare it. So that's really our focus in this webinar. So let's get on started right away. So what are we looking at? We are looking at positioning your brand, and we're talking about preparing it first. So we're talking of preparing and positioning your brand strategically, preparing and positioning your brand strategically. So this is a very important uh, area of understanding that every one of us need to do very well in. So we're going to look at this, when we talk about a brand, it's also very important for us to appreciate that a brand is much more than just a logo or a name of a business or a product. A brand encompasses the unique identity and reputation of an organization or its products and services. And these are those factors that inform the overall perception of the stakeholders of that business. So it is very, very important that when we talk of a brand, we are not just talking about the name as in what is the name of your organization, but in most significantly, the name that gives identity to your organization is actually the unique reputation of your organization or your products and services. So it is very important that we also realize that there are a number of aspects that are key, which you need to understand and handle carefully as you prepare and position your brand strategically. What are these? The first one is the identity of your brand. What is the identity of your brand? Like we said, this could have to do with the unique identity of your organization or its products and services, or this might have to do with the reputation, which is also part of what we're looking at under the key factors here, and also the values and mission. These are also part of the aspects that affect your brand, the values and the mission, and the experience you create for your customers. That's the customer experience. Then we look at the emotional connection. How do you make your customers feel about your brand when they hear the mention of the name of your organization or the mention of the names of products or services that you offer? How do they feel? The reputation is also very important. What value do you create? What value do you deliver to your customers, to your consumers? And how do your stakeholders know you? And the sixth aspect is differentiation. How do you uniquely identify yourself? What's unique about you? What makes you different or distinct from other players in the same industry you are operating in? Now, this is very, very important, like I said, because there are a number of things that inform the impression that your stakeholders have about you. Now, I would also want to say this, that your identity, which is part of what we're talking about here as your brand, is not just the name of your organization. Let's say your organization is called IICD, International Institute for Capacity Development. What lingers around the minds of the stakeholders, the people who get to know that you are there, you exist, you do a certain type of business? It is not the name that is registered by the registrar of companies or the registrar of societies, But this includes the visual elements, of course, such as the logo, the color scheme, the design, as well as the company's name and tagline. Yet, at the front of the mind of the people, when people hear the name of your organization, the mention of that name creates a certain image in their minds. And that image is very, very important because it is what sticks in the minds of your stakeholders when they hear the mention of your organization's name. And secondly, it is the values and the mission. I want to say something about the values and the mission of your organization. What is this? You find that many organizations have got a list of values that they say these are our core values, but those values are rarely upheld. If you go to that organization, if you meet the people working in that organization, you are unlikely to experience those values. But if you say your values, for example, integrity is one of your values, what should happen is that when somebody is dealing with you, they must be able to experience your integrity. You don't say that our values are integrity, and at the same time, you're asking for a bribe. At the same time, you're asking for a kickback to do something. It means that, you have a list of values just maybe for display, but you have not inculcated them into your predisposition. So your customers, when they come to you, or the stakeholders that interact with you, would not experience those values. So the values of the organization and the mission are also very important in defining your brand. Then the next thing is that the experience you create for your customers. How do customers interact with you, and the quality of your services or your products, and even your customer service? How do you serve them, your efficiency, your effectiveness, and all that. Then the fourth aspect is the emotional connection. How do your stakeholders feel about you? Now, if you're a business, or you are an association of business people, you'll find that you're also dealing with other stakeholders like financial institutions, the government, the regulators of whatever you are doing. All these are in the fraternity of your stakeholders. So when you are building your brand, you want to also think about what kind of impression, what kind of feeling do you give to the people you're dealing with. I want to say something that if you do not take care, you will find that the people who do business with you, they will experience your background. They'll experience how you grew up. If that's very, very amazing, that if you do not carefully work into creating a customer experience and connecting emotionally positively with your stakeholders, you'll find that you bring the village you grew up from, you bring the township you grew up in, you bring the school you went to in primary into the business fraternity. But you need to allow yourself to position yourself strategically. Strategically means that you are thinking about futuristic opportunities, and also you are dealing with futuristic threats, and you are reorganizing yourself so that you will still be relevant in the future. You will still be able to exist in the future. And you want to give yourself that head start as you make a way into the future. And you do not want to give people a treatment of how you grew up, but you want to give people a professional experience, a positive experience that will make them stick with your brand. The fifth aspect here is the reputation, how the company is perceived in the market, which can be shaped by customer feedback, reviews, and public relations. Then the sixth aspect is differentiation. What sets your brand apart? What makes it unique? And this includes your innovative approaches, your exceptional service. Now, the focus of this webinar is a brief webinar, is on this part where I'm coming to now, which is how do you prepare and position your brand? How do you prepare and position your brand? This is very, very important. How do you prepare and position your brand? Now, I want to say something here, that before you position your brand, you must prepare it. Before you position your brand, you must prepare it. So you need to understand that a strong brand helps to build strong relationships with stakeholders based upon trust and recognition. And this makes it easier for customers and your stakeholders to remember you, to remember your brand, and to choose it over others. Now, before you position your brand, like I said, you must prepare it. Many brands are stuck at the entry level because they were not properly prepared, and the primary impression that they gave on the market became their long-standing reputation in the mind of their stakeholders. What does this mean? If you position yourself in a very pathetic way, in a disorderly way, you are not prepared. The stakeholders that you are dealing with are actually looking at you, and they are seeing that you are not ready for what you are doing. You are ambitious, yes. You are trying to do something, yes, but you are starting at a very primitive level. You don't have the capacity, you don't have the team that can deliver what you're talking about. You are still picking up bricks to put together. The impression that you give defines a certain reputation that remains at the front of the mind of your stakeholders. And to them, that is how they know you. You realize that even after some time, when you have grown, when you have developed, quite a number of them still have the picture of how you began. And it informs their proclivity or their predisposition. I sometimes give an example like this, that, depending on where you live, find that maybe in the middle of the month, if you do not have maybe toilet paper is finished or toothpaste is finished in the morning, you can just go to a spaza nearby and you talk to the owner of the spaza. Just give me toothpaste, I'll give you a month end, or I'll give you end of the week. But when you get good money, maybe get your salary, you don't go and do your grocery at a spaza, even if it's where you normally buy conveniently. But when you get money, you want to go to certain shops, to certain supermarkets. It's because the brand of the supermarket creates and delivers a certain experience that if you are seen in a particular supermarket pushing a trolley, it does something to you. It affects your feelings. It also, the environment is so clean, it's and air conditioned, everything is orderly. It creates a certain experience. And now what we are talking about right now is actually the effect of the brand on you as a customer. But we are saying that you also must think in terms of how you can create a certain experience for your customers. I'd like to say something here this morning to you, that when it comes to preparing your brand, you could start by earnestly developing and implementing a customer service strategy that emphasizes value creation and value delivery systems. This is very, very important. It's not right for you to do business only thinking about making profit for yourself. You must primarily think about creating and delivering value to your customers. And also, you need to create an ultra-modern customer experience. You don't want your customers to be in a place that is dirty, that is unclean, where they are not welcomed, where people are moody, where people don't know how to interact with customers. And you also want to establish strategic relationships with customers. This is an element of fostering customer loyalty. You want to connect securely with your customers, not just to transact. You see, you can have a transactional relationship, which is based on somebody getting what they want and leaving, and you getting maybe some money as a result of it. But you want to do something beyond just giving a product or a service. You want to connect, because you will find that many things that we do, we are affected by our relationships with the people or the organizations that we deal with. I know that, there are some places that even when they came later on and they're offering the same service that I need. I can give you an example. There's a place, around where I normally go if I have a problem with a tire, with a car. Usually I bypass many other places that I see. I still go to the same place that I started going to last year around January, February. because there's a relationship that these guys who repair tires and do all that have developed with me. So I pass several places where other people are doing the same thing because of that relationship that I've developed with them. There's a way we've connected. So I prefer being served by them, even though they are a bit far from where I am. But I prefer going to them because of the relationship. I would like you to understand that human beings are creation or creatures of habits. We are made up of habits. There are things that we do habitually. We just find ourselves doing things in a certain way. So what are we saying? We are saying that the experience that you give a customer, for example, the first impression you give to your customer, it may make the customer come again to you. And as the person gets so much used to be served by you, every other person who offers the same service may not matter anymore to them, but they may just, if they think of something, they will think of you. I know when we were young, there's a certain type of toothpaste that we used most of the time in the house, to a point that any other brand of toothpaste, even if it has a different name, we call it by the name of the brand of the toothpaste that we grew up using. You also find the same thing with washing powder. There's a certain type of washing powder we use most of the time when we're young, to a point that generally people call other brands of washing powder by the name of the washing powder that they grew up using. So what am I saying? I'm saying that human beings are creations of habits. They have a tendency, they do things up, almost in a repetitive way. If they are impressed by you, the impression lasts long. If they are not impressed by you, that wrong impression you give will also last long. So you need to also work on a broader stakeholder engagement strategy that focuses on turning as many stakeholders as possible into strategic partners. What do we mean? You need to identify how else can you connect with your stakeholders, and not just identify them as stakeholders, but look at how else can you work with them. How else can you work with them? It's not everything you need to pay for. It's not everything you need to pay the full amount for when it comes maybe to advertising, or when it comes to transportation, distribution of the product, or certain services. But you can identify what can we exchange, without maybe having to pay the full amount financially. You can say, we can offer this, you need this, you offer this, we need it. So let's look at how to minimize or reduce the expenses of doing business. By that, you are turning your stakeholders into strategic partners. You are beginning to work with them instead of just becoming maybe a service provider to them or a customer to them, but you are now enhancing your relationship. What I'm actually emphasizing is that your customer service strategy is very, very important. You will find that in many organizations, maybe the founder or the director or the head of that organization is the only one who knows how to deal properly with customers. Every other person, maybe the security, maybe the cleaner, maybe the cashier, or other attendants, they do not have this. It is because they have not been trained. So they do not have the skill to handle customers. And as a result, they put an impression on the customers that lasts long. And this shows in people not preferring to come back to that same place. You might be running a school, you might be running a business association, you might be running a shop. All these things apply. There's an experience that you need to create for your customers. And this experience is very important in pushing your brand, in promoting your brand. Business is not just done anyhow. You need to carefully study businesses that have succeeded. Even in your country, if you go, I can tell you one of the places, you may need to go, just go to different organizations that are successful in your own country. And you see that no successful organization has a poor customer service strategy. That's very, very important. And if you want to, I can also refer you to a particular place Check with airlines, the most successful airlines. You realize that they generally have a very high level of regard for customers. So what I'm saying is that as you build your brand, as you prepare your brand, prepare your people. Because the name of your organization, what people experience is not the name that you have written. What people experience is how they are treated by the people in that building, in that office, in that shop. It's how people talk to them on the phone. It's how you respond to them on emails. All these things, the experiences you create for your stakeholders, this is what actually pitches your brand. This is what prepares your brand. So how you handle people, how you handle customers, how you handle your stakeholders, how you comply with what you have to comply with, all this speaks into the preparation for your brand. And this is very much important as a prerequisite before you go ahead and position your brand wherever you are positioning it. And I want to say something to you, that we are not just looking at positioning your brand. We are talking of positioning it strategically. So this has to do with a futuristic perspective. Think about the future. What is it that you will have to do in the future to keep people preferring to buy from you, people preparing to do business with you, people preparing to be members of your business association? What is it that you should do? Because as times change, the needs of the people may change. So you need to be very futuristic. You need to be able to foresee trends. And I'll tell you something, it's not difficult to be futuristic, because if you are living in Africa, like I am living in Africa, there are many countries in other parts of the world that are already in our future, and we are in their past. So one of the things to do is to find out what is happening, find out trends, where are things going, and prepare yourself so that when that time comes to where you are, because you could be in the same year, but you are in different times, because other countries are in 2023, yes, but you find that you are where they were in 1999. So you are in their past and they are in your future. So you can learn from the trends that others have gone through, and that can help you position yourself. I'll give an example. If you're looking at currently, we are dealing with the advent of artificial intelligence. And if you're running a school, in this era today, you realize that the advent of artificial intelligence, factoring that probably as an extracurricular or extramural activity, can actually uniquely identify your brand, because you are actually courting or curbing the future. You are futuristic in your approach, and you are attracting the interest of your stakeholders. As a leader, you are leading them into the future instead of still emphasizing things that are becoming historic and also become obsolete. So what are we saying? We are saying that you need to develop a very robust customer service strategy. This is very important for you. You need to develop a robust customer service strategy that is futuristic. Think of what are you going to do in the future that is going to make customers still prefer to do business with you. If you don't think of the future, you'll be surprised that in the future, you may not have the same members, you may not have the same customers, you may not still have the same patronage that you have been receiving, because competitors might have come and overtaken you. So what do you need to do? You need to be very futuristic. You need to think about what's going to happen in the future, and you need to prepare for it. Don't just rush to position your brand or to market something. Prepare it so that when people come to your place, when people do business with you, they must find you organized. The environment is spick and span. It's clean. The people are dressed properly. They're greeting them properly. They're interacting with them properly. They know the product. I've been to places where somebody's serving you and they don't even know the products. You're asking, they have to go and ask somebody. You ask, what about this? They have to go to ask somebody. They don't know the products. They don't know the services. They don't know the terms and conditions. And you are treating your customers to ignorance. because the people who are serving them do not know. And it makes the customer lose confidence in your brand. Like, I don't want to do business in a place where people don't even understand what they're dealing with. So it's very, very important that you train your people, train your members of staff, train your teams, build up teams that are knowledgeable, that are competent, that are able to treat customers with due respect, that know their products, that know their vision, that know their values, that are aligned with their vision and their mission, and that demonstrate the values of their organization. This is just the beginning. When you put that order in place, you are preparing yourself for the future. I want to say something in closing, that many brands fail because, like I said, only one person maybe knows what they're doing. Only one person knows how to deal with customers and other stakeholders. The rest are just there looking for money. They're just looking for the payday, and they do not know how to deliver value to customers. So you, if you're a leader for an organization or a team or a department, train your people to create and deliver value to the stakeholders, to the customers. Train them. This training is not an event. It's a process of inculcating skills, because when you teach people, they get knowledge and they are informed. But when you train them, they get skill and they are transformed, and they are able to treat your customers or your stakeholders the way you as the head would like to do. So it's very, very important. And along with this, you need to be very innovative. And I've said, your innovative skills depend on your ability to be futuristic, to learn where are we going, what is coming, and you prepare for it so that you are not caught off guard. I want to thank you so much for joining this brief presentation. I just have about maybe 5 minutes. If there's any question or any comment from anybody, if there's something you'd like to ask. I see some have joined a little late, but I hope you picked something. Today's emphasis was on the preparation. And of course, we started by defining what is a brand. That is not just the name or the logo. It has to do much with the unique identity of your organization and the reputation. What are you known for? And what experience do you create and deliver to your stakeholders? Let me give this chance to anyone here who has got a question on. Maybe I'll just get 1 or 2 questions, because our time, basically, we should be ending by now. Anybody with a question, please, you can just raise your hand using the tools on your screen, and I'll give you a chance. Anybody with something to say, if you got something or any question, please go ahead. Teresa, I see you want to talk. Please go ahead.
I just want to commend you for the presentation. Will you be able to share it, perhaps on the email?
Yes, please. You can just after this, you can send me your email, and I can send you the slides as well, and also the link to the to the video. Yes.
All right. Thank you. We'll appreciate. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It is a beautiful presentation. I appreciate.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any question or comment before we wind up? All right. I would like to take it that, as with no hands being lifted up, we'll be adjourning our session just now. If you're interested, we have another session on Thursday, 8:30. It's anytime. If you want to join, you can join 8:30 on Thursday, and on Tuesday again. It will be ongoing. It's free. You can just connect if with the same link if you want to join again on Thursday. But otherwise, thank you so much for today's session. May you have a very successful working day.